They didn't like the privileged, entitled, full serious politics radicalism of the campus culture of that time, and neither did I. The black kids were lounging on the beach over by Lake Michigan. They were blasé. And when you put on top of that this kind of contempt for Western culture, which I thought was like a wondrous thing that I was discovering, this kind of smugness about reading books by dead white men, which I thought was infantile. These were all new things for me. I wanted to share that enthusiasm. I wanted to share it with some of my co-racialists, and I found myself frustrated time and again when I attempted to do so.
Another aspect of your story I found interesting is that when you got to Northwestern, you were recommended as part of this program for sending bright inner city kids to really good schools out of your community college. And you found when you got there, the kind of black kids that were at Northwestern, these were black kids that came from more privilege than you did. They were not, they were not really from mostly the working class side of Chicago that you knew, and they had a kind of entitlement and sense. They lacked a sense of wonder that you had. With Northwestern, with reading, you speak of reading Nietzsche and really, breathing it in and loving every moment of it. And they sort of had this attitude, this blasé attitude that it, wasn't such a big deal. So can you talk a little bit about what it was like, what that experience did to you?
Yeah. And in retrospect, I might have had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I might have been jealous of these kids. Mm-hmm. I was a little older. I was a transfer student. I had dropped out of college my first time through. My girlfriend got pregnant again. We married. We had 2 kids now, and I'm working a full-time job. We've discussed this. And I'm at the community college, and Professor Andres, the wonderful calculus teacher who was an alumnus of Northwestern, flagged me as a worthy recipient of one of their scholarships for inner city kids to come out to Northwestern. So I end up at Northwestern. I'm on campus. I'm showing up at 8:30 in the morning with jeans, boots, flannel, with a pocket protector, with the pen and whatnot, and kind of a lunch pail. I'm, getting off of the public transit or walking a half mile from where I had to park my car because there's no parking right near the center of campus in order to get to my class on time. These kids, and the kids I'm talking about are the black kids who are my peers. Maybe they're 2 or 3 years younger than me or 4 years younger than me, but they're my peers, are rolling out of their dorm room or their frat house bed, and kind of coming to class in their pajamas practically. And, on the weekend, their dad is coming with a Benz to pick them up, and they're going, wherever they're going, and they're carefree. They're mostly upper middle class. I mean, there were other kids, some kids like, from Chicago and whatnot, like me, but most of the black kids were, their parents were doctors and lawyers and teachers and whatnot. And I chose in my memoir to highlight some dimensions of my contestation with them. And I'm sure they might have been oblivious to the contestation. There might have been a contestation going on largely within my own imagination. I came there full of wonder. I came there discovering something about myself, which was I had gifts and talents for certain kinds of intellectual work. And there was a vast unexplored territory for me in the political theory and history and literature, in politics and economics, in mathematics, which was my major. I was in awe of the place. And I was estranged from my co-racialist on class grounds. And there was this thing that was going on. I mean, everybody was a radical. Everybody, it's Black Power. It was anti-war. It was the early stirrings of identity politics. Ethnic studies was then a revolutionary demand. We demand a Black center. We demand. And, I was going home to an apartment with a wife and kids in it. I was going to a job 40 hours a week while I was doing this. So maybe I didn't have the luxury of their politics. Maybe I didn't have the idealism of it. Maybe it was tempered by the daily grinding encounters that I had to endure with reality. I had a lot of sympathy for the attitude of the union member, mostly white ethnic, working class people in the factory where I was a clerk, but I encountered these guys daily. They weren't Trump voters, although they might be Trump voters if they were around today. They weren't, what I'm saying is, ideological conservatives, but they didn't like the privileged, entitled, faux serious politics, radicalism of the campus culture of that time, and neither did I. The black kids were playing bidwits in the student center. They were lounging on the beach over by Lake Michigan. They were blasé. And when you put on top of that this kind of contempt for Western culture, which I thought was like a wondrous thing that I was discovering, this kind of smugness, about reading books by dead white men, which I thought was infantile. Seriously, I thought it was so anti-intellectual as to be beneath contempt. Yeah, I use Nietzsche as an example, but there was a ton of stuff like that for me. I was doing real mathematics. I was doing real mathematical logic. I knew who Kurt Gödel was when I was at Northwestern University in my senior year and taking a math logic course, the incompleteness theorem and whatnot. These were all new things for me. And I wanted to share that enthusiasm. I wanted to share it with some of my co-racialists, and I found myself frustrated time and again when I attempted to do so. But again, I did have a massive chip on my shoulder.